Professor Greg's class.
All right, guys, welcome back. Today, our major topic is going to be looking at
reader-friendly design.
so that's reader-friendly design, which is a really important topic for data narratives, for creating the genre of data narratives. And so I have a little piece of writing that I did when I was taking graduate courses in data science, where we were analyzing Harry Potter and using text mining analysis to analyze the text. So I just want to go over specifically for your policy map paper, and I've got a policy map example up here too, and I'm going to show you exactly how to sort of build these images into the text, and just sort of quick little tips and tricks that you can use when you're designing your Word documents in any course that might be using images, or even if you're just trying to design a proposal that will hopefully make your life a little bit easier, or make some of your presentations a little bit more more presentable, a little bit more impressive, right? So here's kind of quick tip number one. These are optional, so you certainly don't have to use them, and I'm certainly not using it as a rubric. But this is one thing that is really, really helpful. So you can use your headings. So maybe if you want to break this essay up into different subsections, you can use these little headings, and they actually do have increased functionality. So they'll like sort of separate them out. You can pull out like a little console, and they'll separate them out sort of based almost like you're creating little chapters, so you can navigate the document easier. But they're also just, I'll show you once we start transforming things into sways. If you're transforming from a sway directly to or from a Word document directly to a sway, it sort of like makes your life a little bit easier and sort of more intuitive. So it's sort of your way of just being mindful how Microsoft Word works and how it organizes things. So here's just a quick and easy way to do it. So if you typed up this text and you highlighted it, you have your headings right up here, just on your home screen. And there's different ones. I like heading 1, but again, you kind of want to design them in a way that makes sense. So maybe if you have heading 1, and it's just a major kind of objective heading, and then you have a sort of subheading, then you put that as heading 2. So it kind of starts to design it in a way that your audience just visually understands sort of what's being transmitted, right? You visually understand, okay, this is the major topic, and then this is sort of a subtopic underneath, right? So you want to start thinking about making those conscious decisions. Some of your drafts that I've been getting so far, they're very good, but in one way that they could be a little bit better is just more conscious attention to some reader-friendly design. Sometimes people just throw, you're throwing images in, you're not cropping the images, which I'm going to show you how to do now. I realized I didn't create any instructional material to show you how to do that, so I'm going to do that right now. So again, organize things into kind of manageable chunks, manageable subtopics, make it feel organized, make it feel like you know sort of what's going on, or that your reader can kind of follow along. Now, let's kind of take a peek at utilizing the images here. So one thing that I want to show you is just using the screenshot function. Right, so there's a little key on your keyboard, and it says PRT SC, the print screen option. So if you press that, it automatically copies whatever is on your screen to a clipboard. So then all you have to do is, if you kind of highlight over a space and you click Control V, it will paste in whatever was just copied to your clipboard. Now I have 2 monitors that are open with my voice changing settings and my OBS Studios, so that's why you're seeing an extra screen's worth of things. And over here is my actual settings, right? So now once you've copied and pasted this into your Word document, you can crop it. So if you right click on the image and you click on crop, you can start kind of building your crop. So you can kind of move things here, and we want to isolate this piece right here. So if you went to Policy Map and you did a print screen, right, you could do this exact same thing. It'll work exactly the same on Chrome, and then you want to kind of adjust it to the size, right? So you can kind of make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. Now, one thing that you might notice is that if you take a screenshot and your words aren't big enough, then you're not really showing anything, right? Because it's all fuzzy, it's kind of all grayed out here. So maybe you say to yourself, oh, actually, you know what? I want to crop that even more. I want to get those kind of fuzzy words out because they're not useful to my audience anyway. right? So you kind of have to play around with it a little bit, and you want to try and take up as little space as possible on the page with your images. So like this might be useful because maybe you're talking about East Orange, maybe you're talking about Newark. Any information that isn't being used directly in the text that's surrounding it, that you're sort of creating by it, you want to kind of cut that image out and use it at a later space, right? I know that a lot of you are taking your images and plopping them in there and then going, one by one point, but then think about what your reader's doing, right, in those moments. The reader is looking at the image, then going down to the text, then looking back up the image, then going down to the text, right? So it's kind of more of a recursive reading process, which I think that's what you're trying to avoid, actually. You want it to feel like a linear reading process where there's image, there's text, there's image, there's text, and the text that's surrounding the image is related to the text and vice versa, right? You don't want people looking around too much for things because you're trying to hold their attention, right? You're trying to hold their grasp, and you're trying to work with them, right? You're trying to lead them through in the way that you understand that people learn things, right? So the same exact way that you would want your information provided to you, that's exactly how you should be providing the information. Another really kind of useful trick is building the images, kind of switching up where the images are on the page. So instead of just plopping the images directly in the middle, you can move them to the right or to the left of the text, and then you can start indicating, right, exactly where that stuff is, right? This is an image, right? So the image to the right is a space where there's 50 to 100% Black or African American residents, right? So you start describing exactly what's going on here. How you actually move your images once they're cropped is you you click on it. So you actually left click on it, and then there's this little bubble that comes up here, right? Layout options. Once you click on the layout options, the default will probably be in line with text. You want to click on this square button, right? So once you square it, you'll be able to actually move the image around, and the image will move the text, right? So it'll try and intuitively understand exactly what you want to have happen here. So that's a really good kind of visual design tip. And here's another good example. You want to be able to, so maybe you want to plop it right in the middle. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense because then they'll be reading an image. But, you want to be able to have kind of complete control over the images and where they go and the design of your document. I tend to like to alternate between right and left. I think that's just a way that I prefer to view images. Sometimes if something's big enough, it will go right in the center, right? So it's all about looking at the image. One thing that I really like to do is I like to kind of zoom out a whole bunch, right? And look at my whole document and say to myself, okay, if someone were just opening this on a page, right? Does this look like it's efficient? Does this look like something that is that's transmitting information to me? Here's another really good example. I just want to show you this last one because this was a situation where I had this kind of massive relationship graph, right, between all of these authors and all of the different type of language that they used. And I knew that if someone was going to read this, they wouldn't necessarily be able to navigate just from my language alone exactly where I was pointing to. So I did an overview picture, I did a big one, and then I would kind of zoom in, right? And I'd say like here, you'll notice the sort of, the Galbraith maintains its close connections to the later Harry Potter books, right? And then I would go to the other side and I'd say, and here, right, we see the leopard is further distance. And this is how you're gonna start building drama in your writing. You can easily take one large mosaic map, right? One large picture, and then start zooming into individual spaces and say, here's where something's interesting is happening. Here's where something else interesting is happening, right? And then you start to you're building a narrative there, right? And you're beginning to build a story. And then what's even more interesting is as you're playing with those parameters and as you're changing things and the map is growing or the map is shrinking, right? That's where you're going to start to build the drama. So even more than just working on your writing here, I want this assignment to be an opportunity for you to think about how people read and how they digest information, right? In a way in which image, information, data, and rhetoric and language is all working together, right, on the page. So use the space of the page creatively. Think about how people understand things. Think about how people are taking in that information and how they're reading it. Right. So you guys are doing great so far. I'm really looking forward to these next drafts, right? These next drafts of these papers. And that's all for now, right?